Mr. Heiss, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, just want to be sure you're there before the roll call.
Can you hear me good?
I can hear you. Let's start it then. Okay, guys, y'all ready? Good evening. Thank you all for being here. We're going to call the meeting to order. We will start with Mr. Isley.
Doug Isley.
Paula Rakestraw.
Vicky McKinney.
Kimberly Mcmichael.
Three opposed.
Thank you. We'll move to our announcements. The work session is scheduled for Monday, September the 27th at Central Office, Administrative Offices, 511 Harrington Highway. 2.2, the next board meeting is scheduled for Monday, October the 10th at 6 p.m. at Central Office. 2.3, the Board of Education announces the Teacher of the Year. Actually, this is different. We're doing this. We need to, sorry, I didn't take this off and we've not gotten to the amended part yet. Actually, guys, 2.3 is the Teacher of the Year banquet, and currently that is going to be rescheduled, and we will announce the new date when we have that scheduled. It's not canceled, it's just being postponed. So we will now move to our moment of prayer. Bishop William Phillips is here from the Fountain of Youth Church in Madison, North Carolina.
To the God we serve, we give you thanks for everything, for your monotonous, overflowing generosity, for your repetitive love. You have been amazing in so many respects and for many purposes, and the glory is deservedly yours. To this end, we honor you with our supplication and with our praise, and asking for your guidance tonight. Even that is an extension of our praise. The word has declared, according to Isaiah 58:11, that whenever we seek you, it is like a spring whose waters never fail. Lord, your word is a lamp for our feet and a light unto our path. We pray that you would lead us as we consider the good of Rockingham County. We pray that you would establish our steps. We pray that you would give us discernment. Lord, bless this conclave tonight, that in council we would be met with peace and with safety. Proverbs 11:14 reminds us that victory is won through many advisors. And this board has been given the charge of oversight, administration, policy, strategy, and order. We esteem them for their leadership, and we pray for those who have ruled over us, and for the concerned parents and guardians of beautiful sons and daughters who await agreement, who await resolution, arbitration, and compromise. Give us strength and understanding until the bridge we cross becomes our stepping stone. Amen.
Mr. White, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of our country. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We will now move on to our public comment section. Our first speaker is Miguel Clark.
Madam Chair,
I'm sorry, we need to, yes, sir.
we need to approve.
We do need to approve the agenda, don't we? Sorry.
Madam Chair, I move that action item 7.4 be moved to our work session and removed from this agenda.
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a friendly amendment to Mr. White's motion. I would also move that 7.06 be moved to work session as well.
Okay. There's a motion on the floor to move 7.4 to our work session.
I will amend that if you want me to. And
Go right ahead.
7.4, I will agree with you on that one.
Okay.
We will move 7.4 and 7.6 to our work session.
There's a
I'll
motion.
I'll second that.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Anything else? Anything else? All in favor say aye. All opposed say no. Thank you. So that was the amendment. So now we need to, are we good with that? That covers our whole consent, right? Our whole consent agenda, or our whole agenda. Nick,
Yes, ma'am.
we're good on that, covering the whole agenda, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So now we can move on to the public comment section of our board meeting. First up is Miguel Clark. Please state your name and address. Actually, we're going to have Ms. Rakeshaw read the
Policy.
yeah, read the policy, please.
Gotcha. In accordance with School Board Policy 2310, we will now turn to the public comment section of our meeting. On behalf of the Board of Education, I'd like to express our gratitude for your contributions to our discussion of issues facing our board and our schools. Public comments do not necessarily reflect the views of the board. Board members will not respond directly to individuals who address the board during this portion of the meeting, except to request clarification of points made by the presenter. Out of respect for the privacy of our students and staff, discussion of matters involving individual students or personnel will not be permitted. All speakers will be allowed 3 minutes for their comments, and we ask that you please conclude your comments when you hear the second beep. The board will allow up to 1 hour for public comment. In the event that all speakers cannot be heard during the 1 hour designated, the board will allow time following the conclusion of its business for the remaining comments. Thank you to each of you who signed up for public comment today.
So now we'll have Mr. Clark come up.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Please state your name and address.
My name is Miguel Clark, and my address is 314 Main Street, North Carolina.
Right here.
Miguel Clark, 314 Main Street, Eden, North Carolina. I come here to talk about the schools and kind of what we have going on right now pertaining to the COVID. Because I have a few young kids myself in school, and I know that they're not being temperature checked, and I was wondering why they're not being temperature checked first thing in the morning, because we've had a couple of cases at the elementary where my kids go. One was in a particular classroom with one of my children, and I kind of got the runaround. I called, asked questions, didn't get to talk to who I wanted to talk to, and so I'm kind of concerned for the health and the well-being and the safety of my children, also myself and family members, because some of us have underlying health things going on. I have a father that doesn't have a spleen, so he can't get a common cold. So I feel like I want to know why wasn't virtual learning offered to those that K through whatever grade that there is to be 12 years old, because the vaccination was only for 12 years old and older. There's been, I know of at least, I want to say 4 to 5 cases in the elementary school, because I get messages even if it's not pertaining to my child. Do y'all have a certain number of incidents you got to have before it's closed and we go to virtual? Is there any other backup plan other than being homeschooled? And I know some people don't believe in the vaccination, and that's their right, but are all the teachers being vaccinated? And my concern is just the health of my kids and my family. And everybody has their own right to what they believe in or whatever, but mine is safety and health. I also just like to bring a little something to y'all's attention that we want to talk about, and I know y'all probably heard of the Spanish flu or influenza of like 1918. It lasted for a whole year. 1919, it started in February 1918. By 1919, it was over with. By April of 1920, everything was under control. You had death of 50 million worldwide. Cases were 500 million, which were a third of the country in the population.
Thank you so much for your comments. Have a good night.
You too.
Our second speaker is Mary Ryan. She's coming.
Hello, I'm Mary Ryan from Reedsville. And can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you for keeping masks mandatory so the students can stay in school as long as possible. I'm here speaking in the interest of the students from a nonpartisan and secular perspective. I'm speaking in person with my mask and shield on because I'm the primary caregiver of my immunocompromised husband who is in chemotherapy, and I have a son in school. I requested to speak by Zoom for my husband's safety, but that was denied. And I asked to have a person of my choosing come speak for me, but that was denied. So I really had no other option than to do this in order to advocate for the students before this board. I'm advocating for students like my son who are doing well, and also for those who are struggling. The state of American thinking is presently appalling. It's plagued with emotional outbursts, fantasy, denial, and treachery. We've seen the local version of that right here in the Rockingham County School Board meetings lately. It begs the question, who here is truly thinking about the students? Who is teaching the skills of critical thinking and discernment when so many of the adults in the community clearly lack those abilities? I'm grateful for teachers. I'm deeply thankful there are still some families where kids learn those skills both growing up at home and in the classroom. For other kids, it's clear the classrooms are their only chance for learning how to develop their minds, to think clearly, to process information effectively, to separate fact from fiction, to assess information sources, and to identify and reject propaganda. All of the Rockingham County students need ongoing proper instruction on the very process of learning itself, primarily so they will not fall prey in the future to the smoke and mirrors, the psychological traps, and the propaganda their parents so often flounder with now, cutting off their adult mind's ability to discern much of anything. These children absolutely must grow up smarter than that. They have the greatest need for access to the best possible education. Can we please transition the focus off of external and irrelevant matters and get back to the matter of education itself? yes, we do need to keep dealing with COVID. Can we prioritize the learning process, build real functional skills in these students? From what I have seen, the vast majority of Rockingham County teachers and programs are seriously trying. They need so much more cooperation from the board and a lot more support from parents. I don't see that much parental support, frankly. In a nation of adults so deeply divided, our young students are literally the only hope we have left for positive changes to happen. If the kids can overcome the challenges and
Thank you for your
limitations
comments.
that
Ms.
adults
Ryan.
haven't, the world still has a chance.
Thank you for your comments. Our next speaker is True Young.
Hello, my name is True Young. I live in Eden. I am a student at Dalton Mcmichael. I am here today to help persuade you in the decision on mask mandating. Currently, we are at 9,945 cases and 182 deaths. And as of last Tuesday, 798 students and 50 staff members are in quarantine, 101 positive cases for students, and 11 positive for staff just in Rockingham County alone. With these numbers increasing every day, we are still allowing students to go to school in person. Now, of course, we need to be in school because virtual is definitely not working out for some of us. As kids, we need to socialize. If we're going to be in school, isn't it your job as a parent or an adult to protect us? Now, I understand that some of you may not believe in masks working, but just like wearing a seatbelt in a car, this is a preventative measure to take for us, as well as our loved ones. Now, I'm just like you guys. I hate wearing these masks everywhere I go. They are hot, they are itchy, and they definitely don't go well with selfies. But if wearing one means I get to keep my loved ones and everyone else around me safe, I'm willing to do it. We have a shortage in teachers. Some of the teachers in our school have underlying health conditions. They still show up to school every day to make sure we have a somewhat normal learning experience. They put their lives at risk for us, so why should we be the ones to put them at risk? I have an 8-year-old brother in the 3rd grade who is currently not at the age to receive a vaccine. His immune system isn't as strong as mine. I wouldn't be able to live with myself if I were to bring the virus home from school to my little brother because of masks not being mandated. Or another kid bringing back the virus to a loved one that doesn't have a strong immune system. With this being said, the parents who don't believe in the mask mandating and push that belief onto their kids are beyond selfish. Again, then I'm asking that you please consider everyone when making your decision to mandate masks. Thank you for your time.
Our next speaker is Ron Price.
Good evening. I'm Ron Price. I live at 218 Cedar Run in Reedsville, North Carolina. And I'm here to talk about liberty and freedom in our public education system. It begins with the unions. The NEA, the parent of the North Carolina Association of Educators, these unions, by association, support Black Lives Matter. If you log on to the NEA website, you'll see them sponsoring them and recognizing their organization. But Black Lives Matter is a communist organization. BLM's goal is to overthrow the American government. If BLM was honest in their talk about Black Lives Mattering, they would be working to stop the murder of black babies. Millions have been murdered by Planned Parenthood for profit and for others, by others. Our dictator governor has just mandated the North Carolina public schools teach critical race theory. CRT is a nefarious program that teaches all white people are white supremacists and are responsible for depriving all non-whites, making the non-whites victims of the white supremacists. That affects just about all of us. The dictates from Washington mandating masks and vaccines are a deception. 85% of the people wearing masks have gotten the COVID, and most of the infected are not treated. Yet Biden does nothing about the many tens of thousands of illegal immigrants crossing the southern border, with 20% plus infected with COVID. These people, while they're still infected, are put on planes and buses and transported all over the country where they're spreading this virus. Parents and children have options, and these options have resulted in a huge decrease in public school enrollment. Even here, we see that the university laboratory schools are losing students and teachers because they are not doing what they agreed to do for both students and teachers, leaving them an ongoing failing school. Parents, students, and teachers have options, and they need to have alternatives to get the best education in the land of the free where liberty reigns. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Price, for your comments. Our next speaker is Jennifer, sorry, I might not say this last name right. Is it Van Hook?
It's Denonic.
Thank you.
Before I start, and before you start the timer, I'd like to give this information to a board member that I trust. So you can make copies for the rest of you. My name is Jennifer Denonic, 103 Butler Road, Eden, North Carolina. You know, I come to you tonight not with the intent to convince you that you are part of the willful destruction of America's future, but to plead for your eternal souls. Because I don't have to come back here anymore. My kids I've gotten my way. You know, what some of you meant for evil, God has worked for my good. I'm homeschooling my children and teaching them about the Lord and creation, the creator of the universe, the one that you guys say you pray to, even though a lot of you don't follow what the book says because you're participating in the destruction of this country right now, and you're bringing communism into this country under the guise of COVID, and it is a scam. I'm a registered nurse. I've told y'all that several times. The public is very ignorant. They do not know how to read statistics. I can listen to them speak and the resources they use, and I can tell you why. The CDC has a website, and it's very hard to manipulate. I sit my mother down. It took me an hour and a half today to show her, because she's older, she's 65. And I showed her what was going on with the numbers and with COVID and the vaccine deaths, which I've included the copies in there. The vaccinated are filling the hospitals right now. It's not the unvaccinated. Your media is lying to you. Anybody in healthcare that does not tell you the truth right now is either being paid off, or they're in with an agenda, or they're manipulated as well. Because I'm gonna tell you something. Doctors can get their degrees and they go on, but they're supposed to keep learning. They're supposed to keep educating themselves. All of us in healthcare are supposed to do that. If you don't do the checks and balances on this, you're going to be manipulated. But anyway, I'm getting off topic. I came here tonight because, like I said from the beginning, first and foremost, I want you to go to heaven with me, and I wanted to read to you the ABCs of salvation. First, you have to admit that you're a sinner. Romans 3:23 says, "For we all have sinned and come short of the glory of God." B, you need to believe that Jesus is Lord and died for your sins and rose from the dead. Romans 6:23, "For the wages of sin is death, but the gift of God is eternal life." Then you need to seek, call upon His name. Romans 10:9, "If you will confess with your mouth the Lord Jesus and believe in your heart that God has raised Him from the dead, you will be saved. For whosoever calls upon the name of the Lord Jesus Christ will be saved." That's also Romans 10:13. That's the most important thing to come out of this, because you are living in a part of history that you're fixing to see. The Lord Jesus is real, because I believe He's coming back again. I believe deception is part of it. If I could sit you down for a few hours, I could absolutely prove it to you. I have so much information. I have so much documentation since this has started. And but mainly,
Thank you so
I just want
much
you to
for
go to
your
heaven with
comments.
me. That's my main concern right now.
Thank you for your comments. Nick, we have had one last person to come in asking to sign up. What is our policy? What does policy 2320 say about signing up after the meeting has started.
Well, that's going to be at the discretion of the board.
Board members, what would you like to do? We have one additional person that would like to speak. I would like to say that prior to this meeting, we did have some people to request to Zoom, and we declined that because policy doesn't allow for it. So, I need a suggestion from you. I don't feel like it's my place to
I
totally.
hope they don't want to get in the weeds, but what was the reason we couldn't allow anybody to Zoom?
The policy says that we will allow for public comments once a month. We're doing that.
Right.
We're doing that. The public can come in, the public can speak.
Not arguing, being argumentative, but hadn't we set up for Zoom before where people spoke?
We did, when our schools were completely closed and the public couldn't be in this building. Yes, Mr. House. Yes, sir.
I think the policy says that they'll be signed up by the time the meeting starts. We've broken policy and broken policy and broken policy again and again and again. And I'm not in favor of continuing this. Everyone needs to follow the rules. I don't even know who this person is. I don't know if I agree with them or disagree with them. But I'm tired of making exceptions again and again.
Yeah, I was picking my child up at a cross-country meeting across the county. That's why I was late. She's upstairs. I just have numbers, I'm not on a soapbox tonight.
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
I pick up grandbabies and I understand what you're talking about. And Mr. Huss, I absolutely agree with you. But this lady made a good faith effort to get here on time and had to pick up her child. I can understand that.
I agree.
I'll go with that.
Okay, come on. Let me see. Can you sign up? Can you just state your name and pass the thing?
Madam Chair, may I say something? We advertise this, and it's read, so the public, I mean, we're not picking on anybody, but the public needs to know we have to follow a process.
Well, I would just like to say policies apply to all of us. And I'm glad to have anybody speak, so I don't mean that for our speakers, but
And people can call in and put on the list, is that correct?
if you call in, you can be put on the list. You can email and be put on the list. You can submit something in written form, and we've offered for somebody here to read your statement.
Up to 5 days before. And that's been policy.
It just has to be, and you have 3 minutes to speak, so whatever's being read is within 3 minutes. Does that? Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Name.
My name is Kelly Janney, 1234 Mount Carmel Church Road. I'm here with numbers, that's all I have. Research. Everybody says when you want to talk about something, so I started researching. I contacted the North Carolina Homeschool Association. And I found out that in 2020, possibly in 2019, the Homeschool Association of North Carolina had a 98,400 student enrollment in North Carolina. Now of that, I didn't get enough time to find out, but I know there has been an astronomical number that has left the Rockingham County school systems. I have numbers, but I don't, for some reason, I don't think they may be right. But what I'm here to really advocate for is the school system. I am a product of Reesville Senior High School, class of 1983. I love the Rockingham County school system. I need the Rockingham County school system. I love the teachers. The teachers are wonderful. The administration is wonderful. But something has happened in the last 2 years, and we all know what it is, but it's time to start fixing it. And I don't know how we're going to fix it, but I do know that we have to have parent enrollment. Parents have to come here every single time there's a meeting, whether there's comments or not. It's not really a show, although I know I get crazy in here sometimes. But you can't expect to run for school board in 2022, and how many of you even know there's a school board election in 2022 for some members? You can't expect to come in here, run, and maybe even get on the board and not know anything about what you're talking about. There's a lot, and that's why I stopped my numbers. All of a sudden, I don't think they're right, and I'm not going to advocate for something that's not right. But you've got to pay your dues in this room. You've got to, it's 6 for me, I've been coming. I had to take a couple years off, but I stayed on top of it. A couple in here on this board have decades between them, if not more than that. You've got to come to the meetings, stay informed, and not just get up here and yell. This has to be a platform where we try to figure out how to educate our children unbiasedly and unpolitically. And I'm getting sick of the whole thing. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. We will now move to our board member comments.
Madam Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
I have a couple of comments. And I wrote them down so I'd stay focused. I have to agree with one of the comments that were made tonight. We have been hijacked by COVID, and we have not been able to focus on some things that we probably should be focusing on. So that's what my comments are going to be about tonight, y'all. As I reflected and remembered, like most Americans did this past weekend, not only on remembering those innocent Americans who needlessly died and those first responders who put themselves in harm's way, and our brave soldiers who have fought and protected the freedom that we have in this country. I also remember the unity that this country felt the days, the weeks, and the months after 9/11. The grace and mercy that we displayed even among people we didn't know. We were one country under God, indivisible, with justice and liberty for all. Fast forward 20 years, and we have a governor who vetoes a bill that our legislation passed. And I'm referring to House Bill 324. I've got a copy of it if anybody wants to see it. Which says, and I quote, "Public school units would be prohibited from promoting certain identified concepts." Those concepts, and I'm going to name a few of them, and I'm going to quote them from the bill. One race or sex is inherently superior to another race or sex. An individual, solely by virtue of his or her race or sex, is inherently racist, sexist, or oppressive. An individual should be discriminated against or receive adverse treatment solely or partly because of his or her race or sex. An individual's moral character is determined by his or her race or sex. Any individual, solely by virtue of his or her race or sex, should feel discomfort, guilt, anguish, or any other form of psychological distress. Y'all, there's 8 more of these concepts, okay? These concepts are the very core of divisiveness. A divisiveness that I, for one, won't be okay with. And I'm not okay with watching it happen. While I cannot imagine that any of our teachers in our school district here in Rockingham County want to indoctrinate any of our students with these concepts. Madam Chair, I would like to see our policy committee take this bill and mirror its intent to prohibit these concepts as a policy for this school board to adopt and to ensure to the people of Rockingham County that we will not promote these concepts. Thank you.
Mr. Joslin?
Thank you, Madam Chair. One of the speakers, I made notes, had mentioned about temperature check at front door buildings like we did last year. If I'm not mistaken, Ms. Ellis, we are not, we're following toolkit guidelines?
That's right, Mr. Isley. We did refrain from doing that moving forward because it was taken out of the toolkit last year as a recommendation. And what we've also found is that temperature screening is not something that's really necessarily a reliable indicator always for whether or not there's COVID or not present. So, training our staff, having those conversations with our nurse, helping parents understand if your child isn't feeling well, please keep them home sick. Of course, if any child has any reported fever, whether it be COVID or not COVID, we would help that child and make sure family knows.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair, for letting me ask her that. I just want everybody to know that a lot of this is not this board dictating this. This is coming out of Raleigh. It's coming from Mandy Cohen, Health and Human Services, Roy Cooper, and other entities higher up, and it's trickling down to the school boards, and the school boards are being put in a precarious position. We're made out to be the scapegoat for the state because somebody in Raleigh won't man up or woman up and do their job. So I just wanted the gentleman, Mr. Clark, to know that the board didn't do this, that it was the state. Also, on the virtual learning question, I'm being inundated with emails, telephone calls, and I think other board members may be as well. And I believe Mr. Clark brought this up as well, about virtual learning not offered. We did offer e-learning for 4th through 8th grade, and if I'm incorrect, staff can correct me. We put it out there for them to sign up by April 30th, and they did an extension until August 13th, Friday the 13th. That was twice we had that 4th through 8th. But I will say that I know Mr. White and myself both have publicly, over and over and over again, asked for a program of some sort to be set up, because it's not the board's responsibility to set curriculum. It is staff. We're not in charge of that. I've been put in my lane so many times it ain't funny, told what I can and can't do. So I'm going to say what people need to do. Staff is the ones that set curriculum, not us. So the public needs to know. If you need some help, 336-627-2600. Call central office and talk to them. Not that I don't want to hear from you, but I'm limited to what I can do. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yes, sir.
On a high note, 9/11 was Saturday, and unity really came to Reedsville. We had a dedication memorial service at the fire department that was wonderful. And we had Vice Admiral Bruce Lindsay to speak, and he's a Reedsville High School graduate in 1978. So it was a real honor to see him there on Saturday. And he really stressed, and I think this needs to be stressed with our children in our school, is service before self. And I think that's so important that we need to stress that with our children. Also, from District 1, we have the Teacher of the Year this year. William Bradshaw is from Reedsville High School, and all 5 candidates that we interviewed in the end were fabulous. They were fabulous. It was hard to make the decision, but we are very honored that William Bradshaw will be representing us from Rockingham County. Thank you so much.
Sure. Have anything to say? Mr. Hudge, do you have any comments?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So I would like to say thank you to our county commissioners for hosting the joint meeting on August the 31st. I heard loud and clear that our community desires greater attention to the workforce development program. RCS looks forward to collaborating with RCC and our county on this. Additionally, the county commissioners would like to see our school district create a long-range capital plan. I completely agree that this is necessary. One other concern that came out, it was brought to light that our school district actually has an ex officio position on the Economic Development Committee. The school district was unaware of this position, and since August 31st, information coming forward confirming that no administrator nor board member received any information concerning their meetings. I do appreciate the clarification, and I look forward to attending future meetings. One more thing that I would like to add is my appreciation for the work going on with our strategic plan. I've attended several meetings, and I just want to say thank you. Some of the things that come out during our meetings with the commissioners on the 31st, fit right into the subcommittees that are going on with the strategic plan. And so for the board members who are participating in this, I really appreciate your time, your work, and the extra hours that you're putting forward to improve our school district. Thank you. So now we will move right on to our consent agenda. I need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Need a second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. So now we will move on to our action items. We have the North Carolina Raleigh Dingman Award. Here you go. Dr. Shotwell, do you want to?
Yes, ma'am. Madam Chair, board members, you have before you the memo that outlines the Raleigh Dingman Award. It's like the Board Member of the Year for the state. And if there is, however, some criteria. You have to have been, what was it, Renee? You have to at least have been a board member for 3 years. Is that right?
Do we have two or one board member that's eligible?
So I need a motion.
Make the motion that Mr. Wyatt, be the, what do you call it?
Raleigh Dingman.
Yeah, for Rockingham County.
I need a second, please. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no.
Oh, but I do have a comment.
That's your comment.
Several years ago, I did represent the board, and they recognized board members like an honorary board, I think is what they called it. And I was fortunate enough to be selected for that. And there was a presentation at the state school board convention, which kind of surprised me because they had us sitting at a separate table like we were somebody. So anyway, it was quite nice. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. So now we will move to 7.2. This is our state school board annual conference voting delegates. So we need 4 people to be appointed. Dr. Shotwell, would you like to explain this?
Yes, ma'am. We need to select 4 members for the voting delegates. One of the reasons it's important is that you go over the legislative agenda for the North Carolina School Boards Association and have the voting power to give it thumbs up or thumbs down, and also input into anything that they might propose. The reason we have 4 positions is the size of our schools, and so we need to select 4 folks, and then we can, if we could, select an alternate.
I have one question. This will be live.
Yes, sir. It is going to be live. It's in November. It's November, hold on a second, 11th through 13th at the Greensboro Corey Center.
Dr. Shotwell? We also, last year, had several different dates that we had to be available for, correct?
They were Zoom.
Because of Zoom?
There was lots of discussion during those meetings.
Yes, there was.
Yes, there was.
So I need, we want anybody that wants to do it to be able to do it. Just please attend.
That's right.
You hate to say it, but you could just
I'll be
ask
happy
the 2
to
that don't.
volunteer. I'm sorry?
You could just ask the 2 that don't
The 2 that don't.
want to do it. Then you have to.
Yeah, there you go. Who would like to not? You don't want to do it? Do you?
See?
There you go.
I'll do it.
You will do it. Okay.
I have done it several times, and I will gladly let somebody else do it.
Mr. Hunter, you could, I'm sorry to put you on the spot. Are you good to do it?
I need to decline for now. We'll
Can you do it?
Things change, I'll let you know.
Okay, that's okay. Bob said he can do it.
And we can put Brenda's off.
All right, thanks.
I'm happy to do it.
And I'm happy to do it.
Kimberly too.
Do you want to do it? And let Bob be the alternate? Okay.
If you're not, then I'm put this off.
I need for somebody to be the alternate. So Vicki, you'll do it? You'll be the alternate? Vicki.
She said she would.
Oh, you have one person. Thank you. Thank y'all for, I know that's additional time that you have to serve in addition to
Do we have
all
enough
of the other
people?
stuff. I'm sorry?
Do we have enough people?
We do. So, we have, but this is, we are going to need to vote on this. We have Paula, Bob, Vicki Austin. But you said no, right? You want to be the alternate. So Paula, Bob, myself, Doug. Okay. Sorry, I think I flip-flopped you and Vicki. Paula, Bob, Doug, and Kimberly are going, and Vicki's the alternate. We good?
I think actually Vicki will be the third delegate, and then the event she can't out.
Okay.
Don't give her.
Can I get a motion that we accept this list?
I make a motion, we accept this list.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Okay, so we'll now move to 7.3. Approval for RFQ to secure the design field.
Thank you, Dr. Shotwell, Madam Chair, Board of Education. On June 14, 2021, the board authorized to execute a contract for the first phase of our HVAC repairs and improvements to minimize virus transmission and improve air quality for $2,702,796. The district issued a contract for this initial phase on June 16th, the day after. The equipment associated with this first phase is currently on order and will be implemented in the upcoming months. At your commissioners meeting, Dr. Shotwell shared the top 15 priority list with you at that meeting. And some of the heating and cooling solutions listed in that top 15 will need a build design. So we would like to release a request for qualifications. It's an RFQ for build design for HVAC related improvements that are geared toward improving indoor air quality and looking at comfort and operational efficiencies while we look at virus transmission. And many of these identified projects will require substantial redesign of our current systems. So tonight I'm asking for you to approve that we release this request for qualification. We will post this tomorrow if you approve. Proposals are due from any vendors that are interested by October 5th by 2 p.m. And then I will bring you the list of vendors and how they score on the qualification criteria that I shared within the RFQ. Any questions?
Yes, Mr. Isley.
Are we going to use, when we get to start this project, we were talking in the joint meeting, we're going to use ESSER money?
Yes, this is the 9.3 million. So we've used the
COVID money.
This is your Elementary Secondary Relief Funds Act. Yes, that's your ESSER money. So we've used the 2.7 million. You've approved that. We have that down the road. So now we're looking at 9.3 million more where we're going to address the needs that's on that priority list. And you know, number one priority was Western Rock Middle School. I have Mr. Stokel here tonight. If there's any of those that you would like to specifically talk about that's on that priority list, he's here to certainly address that for you.
For the public, could you real quickly tell everybody what ESSER money is?
Yes.
Just a quick definition.
Our ESSER money is for the pandemic. It's to help with our summer school. It's help for learning loss. It's to help with the air quality, indoor air quality, and for our technology needs that we may have for our kids, hotspots, computers. That is what we're using our ESSER money for this time. Dr. Shotwell, do you want to add anything else to that?
Pretty straightforward. Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
I will make the motion that we accept this proposal.
I second.
Any further discussion?
The only thing I was going to comment is, I just wanted to make sure that the public knew, because I think that's great that we continue to remind the public what this money is for and where it's coming from. Yeah. And, but that 9.3 is a part of the full ESSER money. So that's not all of it.
Right,
So I just want the
43 million.
public to know that. That's right.
40.
Three different.
That's just a portion of it.
sections, three different
Yes.
pots. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. That's all. Thank you.
Any other discussion? So there's a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Okay, thank you, Dr. White.
Thank you.
We will now move to 7.5.
Madam Chair, what you have before you is the requirement with Senate Bill 654, which requires school boards to vote each and every month on the mask policies. And so you have that information in the memo, which we have option 1 that says Rockingham County Board moves to remove the mask requirements for all students and staff from the safety protocols. Masks will be optional for students and staff indoors. Option 2, Rockingham County School Board of Education moves to follow the recommendations from the Strong Schools Toolkit and require face masks for students and staff while indoors.
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
I will make the motion that we accept, I think it's option 2, to
Yeah.
keep masks,
Yes, sir.
so we can keep schools open.
There's a motion, is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye. All opposed, no.
No.
No,
No. Okay, so we will now move on to 8.0, our reports and discussion items. The first thing up for report is our request for funds for our actually,
It's the radios.
yeah, for the radios, sorry. Trying to read it.
Right, he is on the Zoom,
He is on the Zoom, right?
but I'll try to use the other mic.
Okay, all right. So tonight, I want to present to you some information about installing two-way radio communication system for the Transportation Department. The importance of real-time communication within our school bus drivers is extremely important. And I can tell you from the bottom of my heart, this is something that I have been wanting to do for a long, long time. And working with emergency services, now's the time to do this. So let me give you a little bit more information about why now is a good time. Presenting with me tonight will be our Chris Cox, our Director of Transportation. Ron Wells is also here. He's the Senior Account Executive for Mobile Communications America. And Rodney Cates is on Zoom tonight, and he will be also speaking about this. Our current method of communication within our school buses is mobile phones. This option presents several challenges for efficient and timely communication, such as it's unlawful to use a mobile phone while the bus is in motion. And that's a general statute, 137.4, unlawful use of a mobile phone. A bus driver must identify a safe location and pull over and secure this bus in order to use the mobile phone. Also, you have to pull over in an area where you have service to that phone. So time is wasted looking for a place to pull over to use that cell phone. So if we have a child having a seizure on that bus, we're wasting time trying to get the bus pulled over, making sure we have signal to contact emergency. If a call is made to the driver, then they have to find a safe location. Also, there's concern about the bus drivers unable to hear the calls. So I may be calling and say, Rodney may call me and say, Rodney Cates, Sandra, there's a tornado down in the Madison area. I need you to call those buses and get them to a secure location. Okay, I start dialing the phones and they don't hear me. Or maybe the cell phone's not charged. Or maybe they can't get off the road to get the phone to answer me. Those are some of the logistical things that we face every day. It is so important that we are able to efficiently connect with the drivers in real-time communication that would allow quicker response times for mechanical issues, when we have breakdowns, when buses break down, when we have inclement and severe weather events, that I can get to those buses and communicate to them quickly, if they need directions or assistance with route operations, locations of students. If the student did not exit or not get to the correct bus stop, or if the child fell asleep on the bus, which happens a lot. Emergency and crisis. Sometimes we have vehicle accidents. We have medical situations. We have student discipline. And now we also have COVID-19 mitigation that we have to handle on our buses. We have 145 cell phones right now. This includes staff phones. And we pay approximately $2,686.82 a month. For the year, we pay $32,241.84. Looking at this financial package that I have brought to you, based on 219 total radios, this is mobiles, portables, and base stations, we're looking at $402,000. For 5 years, it will cost us $6,700 a month. If you take that and you divide it by 219, by the 6,700, that's $30.59 per radio per month. And then if you divide that by 30 days in a month, then it's $1.02 cost per day per unit. So with that, you get instant communications to our bus drivers. I just want to say that other counties and cities within 50 miles use transportation radios. They use mobile radios. Guilford County, Greensboro, Alamance County, Durham County and City, Chapel Hill, Chatham County, Henry County, Virginia. All the counties that are above us, all of those. You have Henry County, Pittsburgh County, Virginia, Halifax, Patrick County, Forsyth County, Davidson County, all use radios. Very few use phones, because questions could arise as to why we do not have instant communications. So the benefits: instant, real-time, push-to-talk communications that's legal in North Carolina while driving. Allows for quicker response time in moments that matter, like a student with a seizure or if we have a bus accident. You don't have to worry about radios being charged up because they work off the battery of the vehicle. The audio is loud, which means the drivers will be able to hear the radio communications traffic. You can also discreetly check a radio to make sure it's turned on. Drivers will, under emergency conditions, have direct communication with the 911 center. And the 911 dispatcher can link together a responding public safety person and the radio, easily connected. Safety is increased by the use of features such as an all-call. If I need to make an all-call quickly to say there's a tornado down, then I can do that and they're going to hear me immediately. I'm not over here trying to dial all these cell phones, trying to tell them that they're in danger. The radios are also encrypted, so outside users cannot monitor the radio transmissions. You reduce the risk of liability. All the radios have an emergency button, which can be activated to notify others in the fleet about emergency. And the radios are a more efficient means of coordinating the safe and efficient transport of students. Also, the radios can assist with mitigation of COVID-19 activities. Any social distancing, or if a child gets a fever, anything like that, we can dispatch and handle those situations. Expandable to include in the future base stations in schools, radios for school maintenance and facilities personnel. Also, we could use portable radios for the schools and iPhone and Android communications, no matter where someone is with the system. Response to emergency events such as severe weather alerts, active shooter, medical situations, and traffic accidents are all very helpful with the radios. Some states mandate that schools have radios. There's so many important features that the mobile radios have. You know, I mentioned all call, call alert, emergency, private call, encryption. But also you can have multiple channels. We can have up to 8 separate radio channels. We could have one like bus dispatch, or we could have administration, or service, or facilities. So 8 different channels we will be able to have access to. So this time I'm going to turn things over to Rodney Cates. He is the Director of Emergency Services for Rockingham County. He has been working with us as well as his public safety team. The system can, in an emergency, communicate again with 911 and the 911 dispatcher. And the county is willing to give us free rental of the tower that they have, which is a $50,000 savings for us. So that's why I'm saying now's the time for us to really look at this. I'm going to segue now to Rodney Cates to talk about mobile radios.
Thank you, Dr. Parks. Can you all hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
I apologize for not being there in person tonight. My plan was to do that, but some unforeseen circumstances came up and I was not able to do that. But I'll just segue right off of what Dr. Parks talked about. There's some key components that I think are critical when we talk about that. And the foundation of emergency mitigation is urgency and immediate access to 911. That's what citizens have when they dial 911. They have an urgent need, they contact 911 via telephone, and we then dispatch those resources. The beauty of this program, or the beauty of the radio system on the buses, it gives your bus drivers immediate access to 911 in those life-threatening situations. As Dr. Park just talked about, these radios can be programmed with multiple different frequencies, and the communication back to the 911 center does need to be policy-driven, and there needs to be some training, of which certainly will happen, of when the bus drivers would utilize that, but it would be for true life-threatening situations. Bus drivers will be able to switch right over to that emergency frequency and contact directly to the 911 center. As Dr. Parks also mentioned, the response, the immediate response, we already have pre-planned response plans built into our CAD system. Our telecommunicators would answer that radio just like any other field responder calling for some type of assistance in the field. We implement some information into the CAD, we dispatch that call, and it immediately gets you access to whatever resources are needed, again, for that life-threatening situation. You know, in emergency services, we target, or not target, but we're told to train and practice and prepare for low-frequency, high-acuity events. Placing radio systems on buses is a preparation and training and being proactive for those low-frequency, high-acuity events. Obviously, the low-frequency, you don't have them very often. The high-acuity, if something goes wrong with that call, certainly the outcome could be tragic. Pinpoint accuracy is another key thing that we work off of in the 911 center. Having those bus drivers have the ability to immediately call the 911 center. They know exactly where they are. They may be in front of a mailbox or at a crossroads where they can give you the pinpoint accuracy of where they are. So trying to find or locate the location of an incident, which we have to do sometimes with the telephonic calls, is taken out of the equation, again, through the immediate access that the bus drivers would have to the 911 system. And the last thing I would point out is situational awareness. We have to update units that are en route to calls based on situational awareness. What's changing in the event? What are the dangers there? What is the situation going on, and how is it evolving while those responders are en route? This again gives us the ability to do that, is that bus driver on the radio can provide that 911 center, that 911 operator, an immediate update and a continuous update of the situational awareness prior to the arrival of responders. Thus, they are better prepared to mitigate an emergency situation when they get there. So I think it's a very useful process. I think it's a very proactive measure. I think it ensures and enhances the security and well-being of our students and our bus drivers, faculty, and staff. It's a process that can be built upon. It can be expanded out to other facilities, your activity buses, your maintenance people. It's certainly something that could grow as you see the success that you'll have just with your regular buses. And I would certainly support the system, and I think it's a great idea. And I commend those that have done the research on it to this point to present this to you all tonight.
So, Mr. Cates, can you talk with us about your experience with Mobile Communications America vendor and how that's worked for the county? Can you talk to the board about that?
I can, and prior to doing that, when this whole project about you all did provide multiple
Hey, Rodney, you're breaking up a little bit here, bud.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, man, there you go.
Can you hear me now? Okay. We have worked with Mobile Communications America for a long time. I came here in 2016. They were already a vendor within all of our radio systems. Mobile Communications America, they actually supply the radios that are in our 911 center. Our dispatch consoles are Mobile Communications 7500 series, so we bear their name. I've dealt with Ron since I came here in 2016. Professional, very upfront. Since I've been here in Rockingham County.
Thank you for sharing that information. At this time, I'm going to segue over to Mr. Cox for any comments that he would like to make as it relates to radios. He's got a lot of experience in working with radios on buses, and so I'm going to segue to you at this time.
Thank you. We didn't have a lot of comments, more just to see if I can answer any of your guys' questions. I'm the new transportation director. It's my first time talking to you guys. Thank you for having me here. That was one of the first projects that Dr. Parks asked me to do, look into some form of communication with the buses. Jumped right in with BuzzFeed, talked to a couple of different vendors, talked to Dr. Cates, and Ron was the one that we talked with. And we talked to several others, but just the fact that they have the resources here, the tower's right behind their garage, they're going to give us access to those antennas. There was just a lot of benefits with working with the established group. So if you guys have any questions, by all means, I'd like to try to address any of those.
I have a question. What happens at the end of the 5 years? So it says total 5-year system investment, $434,534.78. At the end of 5 years, do they completely belong to us? Will we have to renew a contract?
So are you looking at the 434 number or the 401?
Which one should we do that? We have both numbers. 401.
401. So there's actually two numbers there. You've got one number, the 401 number is just an outright purchase.
Okay.
We purchase those, and if we don't want to do it and all without purchase, we can amortize that over a 5-year period. There's some interest in there. So that's the number that you're talking about is the 5-year plan.
Okay.
The 401 is we would own those products at the end of the
Thank you.
We actually own them from day one. So the only thing that we have, the recurring cost would be the maintenance.
choose to do the maintenance after the 5 years.
So do you expect them to still be in pretty good working shape at the end of 5 years? Or is it one of those things that, like a cell phone, you're
Those
not gonna last that
particular
long?
radios are pretty much workhorses. We haven't had any major long-term issues. I mean, and Ron can talk to some of that as well, but typically we're looking at a 15, 20-year service life with some of those radios, right, Ron?
The rule of thumb is expected life of the system is well in excess of 10 years. We have some people in the county that have had radios for as much as 20 years. So I would feel very comfortable saying well in excess of 10 years. This is going to be a great tool for you guys.
Thank you. Anybody else have any?
Sure. Will each school have a unit in it that they can use, like contact their buses?
Not in the initial phase. Right now, we're just putting them on our buses and just having them in our transportation.
Oh, it'll only come to you with the transportation.
Just for the yellow
It'll
buses?
just be for yellow buses.
For right now.
Yeah.
Oh,
I like
okay.
to do some things, I like to do yellow buses, and I like to do activity buses, and base stations at schools,
Uh-huh, yeah.
and I'd love for
Well,
our facilities
As
department
a
to be able to have
As a
radios.
former principal, I love this idea because we use the telephone and they were about impossible to get in touch with the bus driver or the bus driver get in touch with us.
Yeah.
I've gone out numerous times to find my buses because I had issues. That's great. I love that.
So that's a great
But
thing.
the principals would have a handheld device to talk to the bus drivers, when they, on this first phase, or?
No,
Not in this
not
phase.
on this phase.
No, no, we would be able to communicate and do an on-call if we had some type of weather event, or we had, not in this first.
Ms. Rakestraw?
So is there a warranty with it if it's expected in excess of 10 years?
The initial warranty is 5 years on hardware and software, and you can extend it after that point in time. One of the things we recommend is your system not only is the radios, but it's the backbone that's at the tower at the 911 center. And so we recommend that 1 year annual preventative maintenance on that site would be a good idea to make sure everything is working and in good order. And we maintain everything else on that site, so we can do that PM as we're doing other PMs on that site. It's a nominal expense, comparatively speaking. You might be looking at $1,000 per year for an annual PM on the backbone.
And the free rental from the county, was that for a specific period of time, or was that indefinitely as well?
Mr. Cates, would you like to speak to that question?
Yeah, that would be indefinitely. We already have those antennas up there, and they are currently maintained. We have them checked. So, again, it's a benefit to the county and our citizens. So there will be no rental fee or no tower lease fee for this process at any point.
So no hidden fees, so to speak. So no hidden fees. And go ahead.
No, finish.
Well, I was just going to say, you've got an option 1 and an option 2 in your presentation. The option 1 is the outright purchase. The option 2 is a service agreement, though. So
Yes,
can you, go ahead.
So the outright purchase is we purchase everything and we own it, and there's that maintenance agreement. The other one is we didn't want to put forth that much money and wanted to amortize it over a 5-year period.
That's what that is.
It would still be the same net, it's just the structure of the payment, and it costs a little more to amortize it over the
For
5
the
years.
interest, okay. Thank you.
And I do want to mention that we've been working with Ms. Ellis today, and she feels that we should be able to use our 056 funds for this project versus restricted sales tax, which I was initially looking at. So I was glad to hear that information from Ms. Ellis today. And so we will be able to access the 056 state funds.
On these, you can kind of see, I don't know if it's in color in your packet, but on the display here is the coverage map. So the darker, the green, the better the coverage, the radio response. But with that tower in its location and their testing, I mean, we have 95, 96% coverage of the county. So just about anywhere a bus would be, we would have radio access to them.
Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Is Mr. Cates still on?
Yes.
Hey, Rodney? Mr. Cates?
Yes, sir, go ahead.
Has the county looked at doing a UHF system as a backup? You're using, will these radios be using like the Viper system?
No, the Viper's separate and apart from the UHF system. The Viper system's an 800 megahertz system. The Viper system is, they classify it as a mission critical radio system. It's voice interoperability for public safety response. So the Viper system doesn't play into this at all. They're two totally separate systems.
All right, so, and I might have stated it wrong, so the system that they're presenting to us to purchase for $402,000 would be tied in to the tower using that, a similar system that the county's using now, right now for emergency services, right?
Well, it's tied into the same tower, but there's multiple antennas on it, and you would be using a UHF antenna that's located about 320 feet up, which is near the very top of the tower, which is certainly good for your purposes, but it's separate and apart from the Viper system. We do use some backup components on the UHF, VHF side. Those assets are still there,
okay.
But your system would not impact our public safety radio operation in any manner.
Okay. If we used a UHF system instead of this system, UHF radios are way cheaper and it'd be way more economical if we used a UHF system as opposed to this system, wouldn't it? And could it also be used in conjunction with the county to maybe have a backup system for the Viper system?
No, because they're two different platforms,
I know that.
and they're posing the UHF system to you, so that's, UHF is already a part of it.
Okay, so UHF is already a part of it. All right. This is for staff. I was looking under general statute under 134 and I couldn't find that as far as the radio use. I see it has, you can't use a mobile phone while operating a school bus in motion or while stopped except for the sole purpose of communicating in an emergency situation, 20-137-4.
Yeah, that general statute only addresses cell phones.
Cell phones, right. And I was trying to find general statute 134 that addresses two-way radios and I can't find it.
I'm not sure so aggressive covering general statute.
Yeah.
I get things down a little bit.
Okay, well, she referenced 134 to us, so I'm just wanting to look up what she's referencing. And also, I was just curious, Madam Chair, which we have moved it already, and I appreciate the board doing so. We had on the agenda to approve this money on 7.04, and then we were going to talk about it after the fact. That's sort of like somebody in Washington putting a plan in place and said, we'll know what's in it after we vote for it. So, but I appreciate the board taking that off the agenda so we can discuss it in public, in the work session. Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Madam Chair, I know we will discuss this in work session, and 066, Fund 066, I don't remember exactly what it is, so be available to make sure that we understand where the money is coming from, and any information that we need. I feel like before I retired as town manager 13 years ago, my fire departments and everybody was on separate frequencies and didn't communicate, so that's the point I think that we put up all of the towers. And I'm sure that's probably the towers that we'll be using now. And the system, probably what Doug is calling Viper, I don't know.
800 megahertz.
Allowed all of the systems to communicate with each other.
And across the state through
Right.
repeaters.
And I know that was really important at that time. So I'm looking forward to work session and hear more. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I'd like to comment.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Cox, is that your name?
Yes.
I would like to welcome you to Rockingham County.
Thank you very much.
And I want you to know that you took my son-in-law's place.
Okay.
And he speaks very highly of you.
I speak very highly of him. We've gone back for quite a while. So.
Yeah, that's what he says.
Yes.
So I'm looking forward to what you do for Rockingham
We have
County.
worked a lot of the directors do get together regularly and share ideas, and I've talked to several directors today, so yeah.
Good. Well, it's nice to have you.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir, thank you for being here, it's nice to meet you.
And Madam Chair, I think we also had, if you were going to entertain those sections, we also had somebody that was going to make a suggestion to change the agenda so that we would be able to talk about it before the vote.
Yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir. So now, Dr. Parks, I think, thank you so much. Dr. Parks, I believe that you're still up for 8.2.
Okay. Operations and logistics updates. Okay, we're going to first start off talking about our western tennis courts. The fence supplier has been able to acquire a little over half of the fabric needed by having the manufacturer bring all that they could from across the country. They will begin the install late next week. The balance is still on back order and projected to come in about 6 to 7 weeks from now. But the supply chain has been and continues to be very uncertain. So, of course, we expected these courts to be done long ago. And here we are dealing with supply order issues, just like any project I feel like that I start or that we work on. They will begin the digging and pouring of the net post foundations 3 weeks from today. And after that is complete, we will begin the surfacing as they go as far as they can, with the exception of putting color coats down where they have to lay the fence fabric down before the installation. So once the fence installation is complete, then they will put down the final surface. So if we get about half of the fencing in a few weeks, then we're looking at potentially completing 1/2 of the tennis courts altogether. So if we can get this done, then we would have access to 3 courts. And I know they're very, very anxious to get out there. I get calls on this daily. Parks, when are they going to get this done? We just want to get out there. And we are certainly doing all that we can. I'm putting lots of pressure, but you can only do what you can do right now with the supply and demand issues. So these are just some pictures of some of the foundational pieces, the sidewalks, whenever they were getting ready to pour around our tennis courts. Where they started putting in our poles for the fencing. And then here's just an overview that Mr. Ward did for us. So coming soon. I will be so glad when we get these finished. All right. Morehead Media Center. Oh my goodness, it looks amazing. Our teams have been working hard with painting and electrical and rewiring and working on new access points. Our maintenance teams worked hard. Our technology team. Everyone's pulled together to really make this project come off. Right now we have some of the furniture you can see here arriving, and I'm just going to give you one sneak peek. I know Mr. Moody would be like, Dr. Moody would be like, oh no, but he wants this to be a surprise. But here's the next slide, just a sneak peek. This is just amazing. So thank you to everyone for making this magic happen, for the money donated. Again, more of the furniture will be arriving in the coming months, and we will do an opening for all of you to attend. And so tonight, I have another big announcement that we want to make. This next slide is the Mcmichael Media Center renovation. And I would like for Ms. Butler to join me. On January 22nd of this school year, Mr. Williams reached out to me. And he said, I want to do something special for Mcmichael because they're getting ready to celebrate 30 years. And I was talking with Bob whenever he walked in, and I said, Bob, do you remember 30 years ago? When did we open? And you said it was in...
I worked there the first 5 years. If my memory is correct, it was in August of 1990. I think that's right. I think our first...
93, I think, was the first. Maybe it was 92.
I think the first school year, I think, if my memory is right, it could be wrong, it was 1991.
So we're celebrating 30 years. And so the school wanted to do something very special. And so they wanted to do a renovation in the media center. And so we've been working since January on our design plans. And we're going to pass those design plans out to you. But I'm going to segue things over to Ms. Butler because she has an amazing announcement. You have to hold your seats on this one. She is so excited to tell you some great news that we have about this renovation.
Awesome. Thank you, Dr. Parks. And good evening. I am Brittany Butler from Mcmichael High School. I'm the library media coordinator. I've been in this position for tons of years. This is my 14th year in that position. So, you know, I want the best for our school and our staff, our students. And so, as Dr. Parks said, John Williams and I, Dr. Parks, all started in January, kind of planning a renovation for that 30th year mark. So, our plan, and you can kind of see a little picture here, and I know that Dr. Parks has some handouts for you to take a look at, but it does accommodate a lot of different groups, like larger groups, small groups. It will accommodate a full class size. So the key here is flexibility. The furniture is all flexible in the plan, and so that we can do a lot of different things with our library. There's pieces to the plan that will facilitate those small groups and collaboration, creativity, things that we want our students involved in. And so with that plan, there's mobile bookcases in the middle that have marker board surfaces where they can come up and collaborate together. There's flexible seating that also includes movable whiteboards. The plan includes some TVs on carts so that students can come up with their devices and plug in and collaborate together with a group. But as I mentioned, we also can accommodate like a full class size for a large projection area. Or move all of the furniture kind of to the side and have a really large group. So there's a lot of flexibility in this plan. And so our design actually models what you see in a lot of our public universities, our notable public universities. I won't mention any names here tonight, but we won't have any rivalries here. But a lot of those incorporate this type of design. So it is passionate, like I'm very passionate about this. It is dear to my heart. Of course, I want the best for my students and staff. And so with that being said, the most exciting part of this news is that we applied this summer to the Mcmichael Family Foundation. And just recently, Mr. Sinkelkamp and I attended a meeting with Mr. Mcmichael. And so we are going to get $320,000 towards our project. So that is exciting news for us. It's just amazing. And so, you know, you can see the plan throughout the pictures. We have some samples here of colors for our color palette. And so, you know, I appreciate Dr. Parks letting me be involved in this. And we're just really, really excited for our students.
Oh, yeah, you should have heard them over here when they were laying out the samples.
So we'd love for you to take a look at this, the design that we have selected for the media center. Is there anything specific that you would like to talk about?
You can just see we have some flooring samples here. We have some vinyl tile, some that has like a wood finish look and carpeting. The last, I think, paper in your packet shows kind of the flooring for those spaces throughout the library and adjoining rooms. We have some color samples here for fabrics. I will say that I actually visited to see. I'm really concerned with durability because obviously the current plan that we have has lasted us for 30 years. So I would like for it to last way beyond my years there. And so, with that being said, we just have a variety of samples here that kind of coordinate and give that collegiate feel. That's what we want for our students, you know, as they continue on and join the workforce or go to college. So that's kind of our design.
Any questions that you may have for us?
One comment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very excited. This is a great surprise.
We're really excited. Yeah, we were not sure if we would have to do this project in phases. We talked about that it may be that, you know, for the grant, you may, sort of like with the tennis courts, we receive, you know, money in phases, but $320,000. And so there will be some additional funding that we will need, and we can talk about that at our work session. There will be some mitigation that we will need to do with some moisture in the floors that we have noticed, and then we have our technology and our maintenance staff will be doing some of the work, and so we will build that's built into this as well. And so they were very involved in this process. Both Mr. Stoffel and Ms. Simpson were involved in this process, and so we're real excited to get this going. It'll probably be in 2022 before we get things really going with this project. So that's delays in materials. We had to relook at our palette again this morning, and so just trying to work with the supply demand and getting furniture, but we're just super excited about this opportunity for Mcmichael. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so to recap our roofs, these are the 3 roofs that we have completed this summer. Central Homes and Mcmichael, so we're in the process of closing out the roofs at these 3 places. And then with Western, we're looking at November now. And we were told August, now we're told November, so it keeps pushing out as well. Last time we looked at this, we had just started Mcmichael when I did an update for you last. Professional Roofing Services provided this work for us. They did a great job. So you can see that it is completed. Yes.
I was down 2 days ago. I wind up over there every day picking up grandchildren, but anyway, the flashing had not been placed around the top.
Right.
Is there a reason?
Right, we're waiting on that. Have you heard any more update on that?
No, there's a huge material demand that everybody's trying to meet, and that's just typical of what the roofing industry's been. I mean, they actually, that's the reason they postponed some of that till November for some other projects. It took us probably 6 weeks to get the metal for homes, so we're expecting to see that.
So we were just processing payment for homes today.
And the color on that was teal, and that was popular. When we built the school, everything was teal at that time. I don't even know if they make it anymore, does it?
I don't remember what color, I leave all the colors to Dr. Parks.
Yeah.
So I just told them to match it.
So we told her, but it's a joke between us. She used to tell me something was cute, and I told her I never would have heard Bill Holcomb say anything was cute.
Oh, no, that's right. All right, and quickly, here's just a video showing the progress. This was last time I shared a day with your life. Is what it looks like now, right there. All right, and we've already talked about Western Rock Middle School, that this has been delayed to November. I know the staff will be super excited whenever we roll in there and start on this roof. The Regional High School Crow's Nest, we talked about this at our last update. I just wanted to show you some pictures. the completion of this project. Thank you again for supporting, and we had this done by the Jamboree. We made it happen.
How do we protect that roof, so people can do filming there? Is there a mat or something that goes on it?
That it's a-
It's a metal.
Metal.
Yes, sir, this is like a walk-on mat that that's actually over top of the membrane. And then it's actually probably about 3/8 of an inch thick, and it's just a different type of material than the roofing membrane, so it's a lot tougher. In fact, when we had them go up there and do the install, they actually found 3 or 4 little slits in the membrane where somebody had been up there, and they repaired those before they put this membrane on. So these are actually made to walk on, and they're much more durable.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
The coaches, the staff, players, even the fans have said they're so excited about that. So you really have been wonderful for it. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you for that feedback. All right, and just some updates for transportation. This summer, our transportation team picked up 6 replacement buses from Thomas Buses to add to our fleet. We're excited to get this new replacement buses. Just want to mention that this week is Student Bus Ridership Week. That means that our funding is based on this week. And so we're encouraging students to ride the bus. And then I want to, yes.
Are we gonna get those phone calls that make it sound so exciting to ride the bus?
Ride the bus? Yes. You should have received one last night. Did you get one from me last night? No? Okay, I need to check on that. So yes, we need to make sure that went out. Ride the
No, I
bus.
got 3, but I think it was from Bethany, Middle Rock High.
No, okay, all right, we'll work on that, we'll go back and look at that. Wanted to mention that we are hiring bus drivers. We have 27 bus positions open right now. So I just wanted to encourage folks to drive the bus for us. Base starting pay, we train you, and you have your nights and weekends off. And we certainly need support. And actually this morning in Cabinet, our team brainstormed some ideas, some possibilities of some things that we can do to help recruit and retain our bus drivers. So we're working on a plan, and I think our conversation this morning was great, discussing some ideas and some things that we can do to get bus drivers.
Yes, ma'am.
Dr. Park.
Yes.
These people that you hire now for bus driving, do they have to personally pay for their license to drive the bus? Or can the principal that they're going to drive for pay for their license out of 1 or 2 of their funds there at school?
So it depends on if they're full-time. Chris, do you want to go over that? It depends on if they're going to be a full-time driver.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the license fee.
With the
I know we do cover all of the medical fees. The process is pretty lengthy. You know, it's not one of those things where you come in today and then get a job tomorrow. So first you got to do the application, you got to do the background check, make sure your driving record is clean. And with this clean, we'll invite you to a class. We typically do a bus class once a month. You go to that class for 3 days, pass that test, then you can go and get your permit. You got to go to the DMV, get your permit, hold that permit for 14 days, then you can come back to us and we'll schedule it behind the wheel with the DMV. So it's a pretty lengthy process to get through all of that. You also got to have your DOT medical and a DOT drug screen during that process too before you can get your license. So,
Right,
so I'm not sure. I'll have to find out about if we are paying for the CDLs. If we could pay for TV, I think that'd be a great idea. It'd be a great benefit.
well, they're very expensive, I know that, because I paid for, I think it was 2 of my drivers at Douglas,
Right.
because they were like $95 a piece.
I think by the time you do your permit and your license, it's $168.
Yeah.
But I think they may have
That's
gone
a
up.
lot
But
of money.
168 was our last known number.
Yeah.
Dr. Parks, in your brainstorming with the cabinet, did y'all by chance discuss, I know I've heard a lot about when our TAs drive a bus, they're not paid at the same rate that TAs are paid in the classroom. So would that go, first of all, I don't understand why, if they're a TA, why they're not paid that same rate.
They are.
Is the bus driver rate more? Is the bus driver, is the hourly?
Whichever one's greater.
Whichever one's greater is
Yes,
what they're
ma'am.
being paid?
It's been like that for a long time, before I got here.
Okay. Thank you then for clarifying that. Yes, sir, Mr. Osley.
To piggyback off what you just asked, I know they do get paid. Is it just because of coding? Because I know I have teachers' assistants tell me they have to log in to do one thing as far as a TA, and then when they do a bus, they have to do that, same thing with cafeteria.
Because of which pot it's coming out of, probably. Yeah.
So transportation money versus.
State. Yeah, or local.
And that's where the overtime piece
That's right.
gets in this.
It's messy.
Because of the IRS regulations, you have to pay the source of where the person mainly gets their money from. So if they work 50 hours, I'll just make it simple, if they were an 8-hour custodian, and they get their 40 in as a custodian, and then they work 10 hours driving the bus, 4/5 of the overtime pay has to come from the custodial source to pay for it. Long time ago, we used to, just tell you how long ago it was, we paid like $5.60 an hour, knowing that they were going to get time and a half. And that way everything was being paid out of transportation, but the IRS put the end of that probably about 15, 16 years ago.
Can I ask one more question? Is last year, overtime was not an issue, is that right?
It's not this year because we got to get kids to school.
Okay, that was
Because and I'll tell you that, it's not because we're free spending hippies or anything like that. All we're doing is that we've got some vacancies and we anticipate how much revenue is going to be left open. So right now, we can afford the overtime.
So overtime won't stay a non-issue.
Right now, yes, ma'am.
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword. If we go up in staff, we go down with that line.
You got people to drive then.
That's right. Then you don't have to worry about overtime.
Is it still a requirement
Yes.
that TAs drive a bus to be employed?
Or at least have the license, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Because we do have 8-hour TAs, and we try not to use them if we can, because there's a particular reason why they're an 8-hour TA. But they still have to get a bus license. And secretaries do too.
Okay. I think Dr. Moyer is on, is she on the Zoom? This fall, we're going to be offering a mood brew. It's an iced coffee to our high school students. And so I'd like for Dr. Moyer to talk about this initiative that we will be starting this fall.
Thank you, Dr. Parks, Madam Chair, Board, and Dr. Shotwell. Thank you for letting me speak tonight about our MooBoo program. We are super excited about that. We were talking today in the office about getting our paper products ordered and getting the syrups for the coffee and getting the actual concentrate on order. But of course, everything's on back order. So we're keeping our fingers crossed that we will get all that stuff in by the last week of September so that we can just do a little sample taste test with the students to just see what their reaction is, because in Georgia, they piloted this program, the Dairy Alliance did. They partnered with the high schools to do this to increase the school meal participation and the a la carte sales. And so with that, you know, all students love some kind of nice cold coffee. They love going to Starbucks or Sheetz or wherever to get that fancy looking coffee. So now we're going to be offering some of that at our high schools. So with that, we're thinking probably at Christmas, like maybe having Christmas cookie flavor and everything. So all the equipment for the cold brew actually came through a grant that Mrs. Young and her staff worked with prior to me to be able to get this equipment to provide these students with the iced coffee. And so it's going to give them the milk, and then of course, like I said, it's trendy, and it's also going to prove to be beneficial to give them 8 grams of protein in the morning, because you know sometimes in high school they get to going and they don't have time to stop for breakfast, but they'll stop for coffee. So we're excited to do that, and we're thinking of doing a little kiosk and possibly pairing it with a little Danish or something, so it kind of can be grab and go.
So there's no excuse for kids to be sleeping in first period.
We are gonna have caffeinated and uncaffeinated, so they can get it.
So office referrals will be through the roof.
Everybody's wide awake.
All right, we're excited about this initiative. All right, and then the next thing is just, we just want to say that we're now hiring school nutrition staff. We have one manager position vacancy right now, and then we need subs across all of our schools. And Dr. Moyer, I'm not sure if you want to say anything else about this, but staff is really working hard to fill positions, and we just want to put this out here that we definitely need school nutrition staff. Dr. Moyer?
Yes, we do need as much help as possible. Ms. Mcmichael, we appreciate you going out to Wentworth and helping serve out there. All the administrators and your support staff, we cannot thank you enough for all of your help that you've been providing to us. Today, my staff at Central Office, we were out delivering food because we're down a delivery guy. So we were out passing out food, whatever the schools needed, we were out doing that. So if you tried to reach us at Central Office today, we apologize, but we will get back to you. So any support that you can provide us is great, so thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Moyer. Thank your staff for all of your hard work and jumping in and doing whatever is needed to help our schools get through the day-to-day runnings of our operations of our schools. So thank you.
Dr. Parks, can
Yes.
I ask a quick question?
Yes.
So I know that we are
really in need of help serving the meals. Can a grandparent go in or a mom go in and volunteer? Because you know, the people who are allowed to,
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
Well,
but we've had people ask, so.
yeah, I think one of the things we need to do so that it's kind of like what we did when we used to give the summer meals before COVID. A lot of volunteers came in, got trained with the Serve Safe. If you get, because that's really what they're going to be looking for. If the health department comes in there, and they see somebody back there, they want to make sure that we're following all the guidelines. And that's not a hard class to have done. I think we can get with Ms. Moyer and figure out a way to maybe, if we've got volunteers in the different zones, be able to try to figure out a way to get them trained for that.
But, you know, just some days I just go and stand in a line and just sort of help the kids with their numbers and, you know, help them this and that. I mean,
Yeah, just to be there to hand the thing to have it scanned.
That's not, you know,
is huge
really,
help.
right. You know, I'm not back behind dealing with food because I don't have my Safe Serve training, but I can stand there and I can help with the kids with their numbers and saying, okay, here's your, you know, your fork, your napkin, you know, get your meal, remember to get that. You know, it's just the little things that help that line move quicker.
And also, if our TAs are being stretched, doing other things, to have another person in the cafeteria to go along and help those kindergartners open that milk or, you know,
Yes,
whatever it is that they're
absolutely.
trying to open,
Yes,
that would be
yes,
a great help.
that helps, yes.
So, will y'all let us know when you have that serve class ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
And that's all I have tonight.
Thank you,
Thank
Dr.
you.
Parks. So now we will move right on to 8.3, Dr. Ellis. Do you want me to do it? Sorry, I think she was
I can run
driving.
it from up here.
No, I'm sorry, I was clicking through, but
Oh,
she was
okay.
driving, so I quit. Sorry.
All right, good evening, Madam Chair, Board of Education, Dr. Shotwell. Thank you so much for your time this evening. I'll try to make this very quick. I know there had been a request just for an update because there is some needed clarification around quarantine guidance. So I just wanted to be able to provide that to you all tonight. Please know, I know there's lots of thoughts and opinions about the guidance. This isn't an endorsement of any of that. It's just really an explanation to help our families understand the process to the best of our ability. That's what myself and all of the school nurses want to do, just to help the community understand. And we're always available to talk and answer questions whenever that is. I also just want to say, our staff, our principals, our school nurses, all of our staff that's helping with this process to really understand all of these guidelines are working so hard. And they're working really hard to try to help families understand this information. And so I just really want to thank them because they're doing just a ton of overtime in addition to what we normally do. And so they have all been amazing, and I'm just really grateful for them. And I know you all are too, so I just wanted to really acknowledge them and share that appreciation for all of them. I do want to let you know, if you go to our website, you'll see an RCS Cares about your safety, that little button. That's where all of the information that I'm going to go over tonight is. That's where our RCS Cares plan is. That's where we have updated information, and where we also put our case count report in case anybody's ever wanting to know that or check that. We update that every week by Tuesday a.m. at 9 a.m. And so we work to do that every week, so that we just can provide that information to be as transparent as possible. The next slide, if you'll look at that, I just want to remind everybody, these guidelines are really from the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services. And so that's at the state level. This toolkit, when you hear us talk about the toolkit, this isn't Rockingham County's toolkit. As Mr. Osley mentioned earlier, this is the Department of Health and Human Services toolkit, and it is released for all K-12 schools to use to go by. And so it is something that they have been requiring us to go by, and the quarantine guidance is something that we are legally required to follow. So that is why we're going through all of this process, as we're going through the guidance. I do want to say, if you look at this toolkit, there are 8 different boxes for every scenario that you can possibly think of. That's why it's confusing. There are 8 boxes. And so it is, and it's like if this, if that. So it requires a great deal of reading and understanding. So Nurse Perkins and I, Amanda Perkins, she's on the Zoom call also. We tried to create these charts. Again, these are based off of DHHS guidance, but to try to help people understand it, because those 8 boxes are so long. I don't know about you all, but I'm just better with something visual to help me understand when there's a lot of information to go on. So that's what these are created for. And just to kind of hit the guidance, the information, you'll see that in that quarantine guidance right here, that if students are wearing face masks, if they're with another student, they do not have to quarantine. That's only in the guidance for student to student. So, there's lots of debate over masks. I'm not here to debate that. I'm just here to explain sort of what that guidance is in that DHHS information. So student to student, if they wear the mask, they do not have to quarantine, which saves us having to send home a lot of kids, since we're legally required to follow that guidance, which we want our kids here as much as possible. The next one, that's if students are wearing masks. The next chart really shows if they are not wearing masks. Those red arrows show that they miss 14 days of school. The reason that's the case in the guidance is because if they don't wear that incubation period for COVID-19, according to what the health experts are letting us know, is that it can take 14 days. The other piece of that is that we cannot socially distance 6 feet apart everywhere in every part of our school setting. We were able to do that last year when we were on Plan B, and they were able to sit 6 feet apart, so we could use the shortened quarantine guidance. Because we can't sit 6 feet apart, and that is what the quarantine guidance says, we have to do the full 14 days according to that guidance. So I do want to show you just some information, and this is all publicly on our site. As I said, it's updated every Tuesday. There's a link there for the case count report, but just so you have Rockingham County numbers, I need to move over here so I can see. You can sort of see this is each week so far that we've been in school. As of today, this is of last week, September 6th through September 12th. We do have over 1,000 students on quarantine. That's primarily from sports and lunches, okay? Not classroom exposures. Which that's still a lot, but I do want to point out, if we did not have the face masks required, we would have almost 3,500 more students in addition to that 1,087 students quarantined. So that's just something to know as you're thinking about increasing instructional time, keeping instructional time for our students. That is just some information to have, and it's something, you know, I try to share as much as I can with you all about what's going on currently in Rockingham County Schools. So again, we'll update that. We'll continue to share those. We try to share those weekly with you all. We'll continue to do that for as long as we need to. There is significant high transmission. You can actually see we do have 123 cases in our students, and it's primarily our students. We have 16 positive cases this past week from adults, but 123 of those are our pre-K through 12 students. So that's the information we have so far. Again, I just want to say also the mobile testing van. Not do COVID-19 testing within our schools from our RCS nurses or from anyone on our staff. We are not issuing COVID-19 vaccines, okay? What we do provide is a partnership we've created through Compassion Healthcare and Cone Health. And this started last year, and so we're really grateful for their support. But this van rotates across the 4 traditional high schools, and it's really for the community. We do it out to that van. It's only there if a parent chooses to use it or anyone in the community wants to use it. And so there are no COVID-19 vaccines given that van. It's not even approved for that use. It's just for testing. And so, again, that's not something we would take a student out there to, or none of our staff would do that. And so, so that is just something that's available since we do not offer that. The State Department did allow us to opt into a testing program. We have not done that in Rockingham County Schools. There's a little bit of more information listed there, and I know we've all, you know, talked about that some, but I just wanted to make that clear. That's not something that we have opted in the school district to do that testing within the schools. But there is a link there. There's lots of options in our county. We have lots of wonderful providers who are able to offer those options for families, and we readily provide that information for whoever wants that information.
Thank you. Mr. Isley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Ms. Ellis.
You're welcome.
If the board agrees, on chart number 4 and 5 of your presentation, what's the board think about having the number 4 and number 5 posted on our Facebook page at the top, pinned at the top of our PO, if it's possible to do that? Because I get a lot of questions. Everybody calls me and then I say, call Ms. Ellis.
Is it not posted?
We do not have it yet.
Those 2 pages specifically, because I seem to get that question quite a bit.
What happens?
What happens, what if? And if those 2 pages, I don't know if it could be done in a 8.5 by 11 format and pin it to the top of the Facebook page or Twitter every so often, and then put it out there so it's in the community. It's accessible.
We'd be glad to do that if that's something you all would like for us to do.
Thinks it would be a good idea.
Yeah, I don't think we really need to vote on that. I think it's fine. I just think people are hesitant to, you know, they're not sure what's okay to really put up there or not. So, yeah, that's great.
Yes, I do think it's okay.
Whatever we can do to help people that know information, we'd be glad to do.
Mr. Wyatt had a comment.
Dr. Ellis,
Yes.
I wonder if you get calls like I do that say, have you thought about this? And I think, what do you think we do 24 hours a day? But I would like to commend principals that are going out of their way to seek ways to prevent children from being exposed during lunch. And I know that athletics, team sports, that type thing, and lunchtime is the big deal. And I would commend any principal that comes up with some way, whether it's an extra lunch period or however how they can do it, to use space and tell the children, let's try to stay away from each other when we don't have our masks.
That's right, and I will tell you, our principals work very hard at that. They are all trying to problem solve as much as possible, you know, and provide as much space, provide options. They can go outside and eat, you know, things like that. They are working really hard to do that to the best of their ability to minimize those lunchtime exposures, if at all possible.
Madam Chair, and I'd like to piggyback on Bob's statement there and saying that I appreciate those teachers and those principals who have gone above and beyond for these students who are in quarantine. Because I know that when we adopted the, you know, the safe schools, and we said that within that safe schools, it said that students would receive packets when they were put on quarantine. I think we've quickly discovered that that's not the best tool. And so we have had teachers to say, you know what, I'm going to record my class, I'm going to record my instruction, I'm going to put it out there for those students to be able to access that instead of just utilizing packets. I hope that we'll see more of that. I know that's an extra added, but I don't think we're asking teachers to Zoom with students, but to go, you know, to do whatever they can to reach out to those students to make sure that they're understanding, they're not getting behind, and they're staying in.
I have found our staff do want to go above and beyond because they want the students here so much. And we are committed to that in-person learning, and we want our kids to stay here. And really, all of this is an effort to do that. And so we're just so thankful. And our kids have been wonderful. You know, they really have. They're just wonderful. And so we really appreciate that.
Any other comments or questions?
I would like to, I'd like to thank Dr. Perkins, because Stephanie called me, it's been 14 days ago or a little bit more, telling me that my granddaughter was going to have to be quarantined. Well, of course, being a grandma, I panicked. I called Dr. Perkins and said, you know, she can't do packets. I'm sorry. She can't do packets. We've got to have something else. Dr. Perkins was right on it. He talked to me. He said, I'll get back to you. I'll call her principal. He got back to me and was set up on Canvas, ready to go. And, you know, he didn't have to do that, but he did. And I really appreciate it.
Absolutely, absolutely. All our staff are working so hard, the whole curriculum team, instructional support, everybody. We're just trying, all the departments. I don't want to mention it, I don't want to miss anybody. It is quite a unique time for school systems. And I think what's so important is that we just want to help our kids. And COVID has been quite divisive, right, for everyone. And our job, our goal is to help our kids. That's what we want to do.
Anything else? Thank you, Dr. Ellison. And I want to thank you for, I know that regardless of how people feel about all of the things that we're discussing tonight, I know that oftentimes you're still here at 9, 10 o'clock at night. Amanda's with you. The nurses are in your schools. And I thank you for the hard work that all of you do. I don't want to leave anybody out, so all of your team that's working hard, we greatly appreciate it.
We appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we will move right on to the T-Mobile project. Casey?
There you go. Thank you. Good morning, Madam Chair, or evening, board members, and Dr. Shotwell. Tonight, I'm here to talk to you about the T-Mobile grant. If you remember, over the last several years, we've had the Sprint 1 million grant where the students in high school were able to get hotspots. The T-Mobile 10 million project is for all K-12 students. And so this year we applied and we were accepted. Just to tell you a little bit about what the project is, T-Mobile is doing $10.7 billion, and that initiative is aimed at delivering internet connectivity to millions of the students across the country. They're partnering with school districts, and they're offering low-cost to no-cost data, depending on the plan you choose. For us, what will our students be receiving? Students will receive a free hotspot with unlimited data. No data caps, no slowing down, some of those things that we experienced with Sprint. They will not have that. It will be SIPA compliant, so it will have that content filtering, which, you know SIPA from E, right? That we have the Children's Internet Protection Act. And they can keep the device for the next 5 years unless they withdraw or graduate. So once it's issued this year and they still need the service, they can continue it. The data will continue over the summer. So if we end up with summer learning, they'll have a hotspot, and if we don't, they can use that to continue working at home over the summer. Just use it for, CIPA compliant types of objects. What is the cost for us? So I applied for the ECF funds, that's the emergency connectivity funds. We do not know yet if we've received that. The USAC is saying maybe by the end of September, 50% of awardees will be notified. So hopefully we'll be in the front of it. Oh, USAC is the E-rate. Okay, so it's not actually E-rate, but USAC is managing the money because it's coming through the federal communications programs for the emergency connectivity funds. We have used those emergency connectivity funds to apply for the hotspots, for complete cost coverage of Chromebooks for our middle schools for take-home, and for $400 towards the laptops. So that's what we're looking for the rebate for from that. What we did do was Dr. Perkins and his staff applied for ESSER funds to cover this. So if for some reason we don't have the ECF, then the ESSER will cover the cost, which is $15 per device per month. But we're going to think that we got the ECF just because from what we're hearing, if you have a good argument and you can justify it, which I feel I did, you should get the money for it. So we're looking forward to that. We have applied and received 1,805 devices. Right now they're in processing, so they have not been delivered yet. What T-Mobile is doing is they're throwing in for free the preparation, really, I guess is what you could call it, of the device. When we received the devices last year, we had to open every box, open every battery, put in the batteries, put in the SIMs, turn them on, do the updates, label them, and all of that. T-Mobile was doing that, which is like a $6 to $8 charge per device at no cost. So when the devices come to us, hopefully in the next couple of weeks, we'll just basically take the device, we'll spot check a few just to be sure, but then we'll deliver them to the schools. And so my objective tonight with bringing this to you is to help make our community aware, and as you guys go out and share, I think that they could go ahead and come into the schools now and request. We're interested in getting a device and go ahead and get on that list. If we run out, T-Mobile has given me the option to come back and request additional devices. So we can do that. So we definitely want anybody that needs to take advantage of it to take advantage of it. And I would also say that we know that there are areas in our county where this is not going to work because we just know there's no cell here. But I would still encourage those families to consider getting a T-Mobile device. And the reason is it may save you. So maybe you can only drive a mile up the road and then you'll reach that tower as opposed to driving 10 or 15 miles to get to a school or something. Or maybe when you go to your grandparents' house, they don't have the internet, you could use it while you're there. So we want folks to really look at what their options are and what their need is and take advantage of this because it is available to them. And that's my update. So you guys have any questions?
That's great.
No? All right, great, thank you.
Thank you, Shannon.
So now I need a motion, Mr. Isley, could you read,
Yes, ma'am.
thank you, on the closed session.
Madam Chair, in accordance to General Statute 143-318-11, I move that we go into closed session in order to adhere to the following subsections within Section A, 1 and 6, to preserve confidentiality, attorney-client privilege, and then to discuss property under, I said 1 and 6, 1 and 5, to discuss property.
I need a second, please. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Mr. Hush, you there?
Here.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you, I guess there was a delay. Okay, so let's take a 10-minute recess and then we'll come to close session.
That's your microphone.